When I was a kid, punishment was broken down into 3 or 4 different categories. The worst was corporal punishment from your father. One below that, corporal punishment from your mother. The most oft employed was social isolation. Go to your room. And I would usually get an admonishment not to play with any of my toys while I was in my room. This experience was not meant to be enjoyable or fun in any way, shape, or form. So I would go into my room and I could close the door. We had doors back then and you could close them. And I would look around and think of anything that I could do to occupy my mind. And fortunately, I had a great imagination. I had a piggy bank filled with coins. And it's amazing how all those coins can turn into a strategy game, where it's heads versus tails, and you got different ranks based on the value of the coin, and you can lay out a board, and you can have obstacles. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could do. And usually, after an hour or two, I'd be released from confinement, and the door would be opened, and I would be told I could go outside and play. But I'd find myself wrapped up in this little game that I just made up out of scratch. And I would stay in there and play for another hour or two sometimes. So being alone and being lonely have never been a problem for me. That's not to say that I have not experienced loneliness in my life. I certainly have. And certainly the lack of having a significant other can contribute to that. I think that divorce obviously contributes greatly to the male loneliness problem, as they like to call it, that we're experiencing now. But I'm not so sure it's as big a problem as they think. And I don't think it's a problem for the reasons that they think. And I think the solutions to this so-called problem are much more simple, straightforward, and beneficial than you might guess. So today we're going to talk about male loneliness, what the media tells us it means, what it really means, and how to fix it, and how to use that experience to propel yourself to greatness. So let's talk about it. The media would have us believe that toxic masculinity is the primary problem that men have. And that is why we are unable to make friends with one another. And the media solution to this is we all have some kind of big kumbaya where we hold hands at a feminine yoga retreat and we expose our most deep, dark, emotional secrets to one another and cry about it. Well, I just don't think that sounds right. I don't know about you, but when I hear something like that, I think, at what point in history did men ever do that? And who the hell came up with this idea of toxic masculinity anyway? Certainly wasn't a man, that's for damn sure. Some woman came up with that because she didn't like the way her man was behaving for some reason. Now, that's not to say there aren't some toxic people, and some of those people might be men, but to say that masculine characteristics are in any way toxic is just not understanding masculinity, or men for that matter. Now, all that being said, we certainly do have a problem with loneliness in our culture, and it probably does impact men more severely than it does women. I mean, women, they just talk all the time. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, it's pretty muddy through here. But there are some social limitations to men and their behaviors. So, for example, when I was a kid, if we were outside playing ball in the street, and I fell down and skinned my knee, if I cried, my friends would call me a sissy, and rightly so. However, one time we were playing street hockey, and for whatever reason we were using a baseball for the puck. Not a good plan. Anyway, somebody got a piece of that puck and slung it right into the nuts of one of my pals, and he went down hard, and he was crying, and nobody was calling him a sissy, because we knew that was a severe blow. That was a fatal blow, and we were all standing in awe of the fact that he wasn't dead. So men are not toxic when it comes to their emotions. We just have a different perception and understanding of the way they work. Different standard, I guess you could say. But I don't think that a male yoga retreat where we all share our emotions is anywhere near the right answer. That's not to say that men aren't lacking fellowship, because I do believe that is true. But in all of my relationships with men over the years, my son included, the best way I have found to get a guy to talk or to open up about anything is to do something. No one wants to sit around and talk like we're at some kind of a therapy session. But if you get out a ball or a frisbee, we go bowling, fly a kite, go fishing, play golf, do something, well, men talk. That's how men bond. So the idea that masculinity has anything to do with loneliness is a bit of a misunderstanding of what it means to be a man and of masculinity as a whole. And anyone who suggests that masculinity is in parts responsible for male loneliness doesn't understand masculinity at all. Our culture and our society does have an impact on male loneliness. The way our family system is set up has a lot to do with it. And we're also very mobile. So in our society, it's not uncommon for people to move away from their hometown and to have a job in a big city or across the country or something like that. And if you're married and your wife leaves you, and she's got the kids and you're 1,000 or 2,000 miles from home, well, it can be really tough on you because you don't want to move away from your kids to get back to where your friends and family are, because now they are your family. When you get married, you kind of lose track of your friends anyway. The older you get, the fewer friends you have around because they're married and you're married. And getting two wives to like each other, it's a small miracle. So it's unlikely that you're going to be hanging out with your old pals from college or high school or whatever. So yeah, you get to that point where your marriage splits up and the one social outlet you have is this woman you call your wife, and she's basically told you to hit the road. So now your primary social outlet is gone, and then your relationship with your children, which is, given their age, they are kind of a social outlet for you. I mean, obviously you're not telling them about your feelings, but still you get some interaction with another human being, even if it is in a parental role. There's still a level of camaraderie that you have with your kids, especially with your sons, even with your daughters. As they get older, they're teenagers, there's a lot of interactions there that can be really quite fulfilling. But if your wife's got them and she's poisoning them against you, it can be really, really, really hard. So I do think that a part of this problem comes back to family court and the way divorces have been administered by judges over the last generation or two. Now, it's becoming less and less like that these days. I think the court system has recognized that having parental interactions with both parents by the children is critical to the development of children and their healthy well-being. But in the past, it was very, very common for women to get custody and have full physical and authority over the kids, and then the dad saw them every other weekend. You know what I mean? And that was the full length of their relationship. The other problem that men have, and this is really the first step to getting it fixed, is coming to the conclusion that you are indeed lonely and that you would benefit from having some relationships. And I would strongly suggest, I like to think of myself as middle-aged, if you're a middle-aged or older guy and you've gone through a divorce, maybe, just maybe, it would benefit you to have some guy friends rather than going back out there and trying to pick up some woman. I suggest that because if you're divorced chances are you played a role in that thing going bad. And until you figure it out and figure yourself out, there's no point in going back down that path because you know where it leads, you know where it goes. So why not make some guy friends? You know what you might get? You may get the benefit of their experience in their own divorces. You know what I mean? They might tell you what went wrong in their marriages. And then you can see for yourself, well, maybe I picked the wrong girl, or maybe I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I should do differently if I ever try to get into a relationship again. But in any event, the value of having guy friends is way underestimated, especially by other men. And finding friends to hang out with is a lot easier than what you may think. After all, half of us out there are divorced, so we must be hanging out somewhere, you know? So, but first, let's talk a little bit about the value of loneliness, because I think there's an opportunity in your loneliness that I think a lot of people overlook. And I think that if you can get a hold of it and you can make the most of it, you can really improve your life across the board in so many different ways. Solitude is an intentional act with the purpose to benefit you. So think of things that you can do on your own that would be good, enjoyable, fun, that you would only do on your own. Like me walking out here with the dogs. This is solitude. This is not loneliness. This is an experience that I look forward to all the time, especially on a gorgeous day like this. It allows me to collect my thoughts, to reflect on my life, to make plans, to listen to a book, listen to music, whatever I want to do. It gives me time on my own to clear my head and to get a little exercise. It's a positive experience. If I can't come out, you know, sometimes reading a book or working out. That's what I love about lifting weights is I can do it on my own. I don't need a training partner to get a good workout. I can do it by myself. But if I've got someone around who wants to train with me, having a training partner is fun too, because you got the similar experience. You know, you guys are pushing yourself really hard. You push each other really hard. There's a sense of camaraderie to it. But working out on my own is just as enjoyable. I really, really do enjoy working out on my own. These are things that I do in solitude. I am not experiencing loneliness when I do those things because I have a purpose, an intention for the way I'm using this time alone. That's the difference. If you sit around and you think about how lonely you are, guess what? You are going to be lonely. You're going to experience depression and sadness and boredom, and it's going to be a negative experience. Your body is going to respond to that in a negative way. But if you turn that around and say, this is my solitude time, and you make a plan with an intention to use that time for your own benefit, well, that's completely different. Now you have taken control of this situation, and the time that you spend alone is going to reap you all these other benefits. Not only like for me getting exercise and you know, listening to music or enjoying the nature or whatever, but I get to know myself a lot better.
Aircraft overheating. Powering off automatically.
Uh-oh.
Let aircraft cool.
Uh-oh, aircraft is overheating. Let me stop there for a second. Sorry about the break there, but my drone, I had it in my pocket and it's getting warm out here. Anyway, so I would suggest to you that the biggest problem in our society as a whole is that people don't know themselves very well. They don't know who they are anymore. Men, you know, we're trying to conform to this matriarchal world that we find ourselves in. And the difficulty is just the natural act of being a man can be seen as a negative characteristic. And that is problematic. When you spend some time in solitude, you will get to know yourself very, very well. You will develop a whole new respect for your ability to achieve the things that you want, to reflect on the things that have happened, to make good decisions, to create a plan for yourself, to enjoy your life more on a moment-by-moment basis, to remain present in those moments so that you can fully embrace and enjoy them. When you can do that on a consistent basis, you're going to have a characteristic that most people don't have. You're going to have a level of confidence in this self-knowledge, in this understanding of who you are and what you're about, that is a rare commodity. And like any other rare commodity, it has an enormous amount of value. People will come to you, people will flock to you, people will want to be around you because they see in you these insights, this understanding of life, this sense of having things figured out in a way that most people don't. I highly, highly recommend that you spend some time in solitude and enjoy that time alone because it has enormous value. Most of our society is constantly, their ADHD. This goes from one device to the other, clicking and scrolling and watching and commenting, and it just goes from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And days and weeks and months go by without having an original thought, without stopping to reflect on your own life. And that's no way to live. There's no way to live. So use your perceived loneliness as an opportunity to experience some intentional solitude where you can use this time that you have, that you've been gifted in this moment, to make yourself a better version of yourself. Because there may come a time when you will not have this opportunity. There may come a time when demands will be placed upon you that will require you to respond and may not allow you the opportunity to be alone in solitude, to really explore your inner world. So yeah, take advantage of it. In addition to that, you got to get out. You're not going to make any friends sitting on the couch, at least not any real friends. I strongly recommend that you get involved in some kind of a men's group. The problem over the last couple of generations is that women have done everything in their power to do away with men's clubs of any kind. Anytime two men stand around together and start talking about anything, some woman's going to want to come and say, wait a second, why wasn't I invited? Women's clubs, totally different thing. They have all the right in the world to have no men allowed, but no women allowed, and suddenly you're a misogynist. But they're out there. You just got to keep looking, find a place where men gather and put yourself there. Even if it means doing something that you don't enjoy doing. Like if you're not much of an athlete, who cares? Just go bowling, play softball. So what if you're the worst guy out there? Screw it. You're just out there to have fun. Just have fun. You don't need to be a professional athlete to have a good time. Usually the softball leagues are broken down to like those people who are hyper serious and they're just out there to compete, to the older, fatter guys, who are out there to drink beer and talk shit to each other. That's what you want. That's all you need. You just need someone to talk some smack to and have a couple beers with. That's it. That's it. You don't need to reveal your innermost dark feelings, about the world and all that stuff. Let that shit go. Don't focus on it. Don't talk about it. Let it go. Just let it disappear. It'll go. If you don't give it attention, it'll go away. I promise you. You don't need to carry around all that crap. When you're alone, the loneliness leads to depression. And the depression comes from the rumination of going over all the negative shit that's ever happened to you in your life and replaying it over and over and over in your mind like it's on a big screen. And you sit there and you just absorb this material until you're convinced that your life sucks and you are a bag of dicks. That's basically what it boils down to. And I strongly recommend that you don't do that to yourself because it's no way to go through life. You got this chance, you got this life, make it worthwhile, have fun, Get some guy friends, get out of the house. Spend some time in solitude. Work on yourself. Don't allow yourself to fall into that self-loathing that comes with depression. Don't allow yourself to ruminate on those negative thoughts of being alone. Don't start thinking, oh, nobody loves me. Love can only be given. Let me say that again. Love can only be given. You cannot take it from anyone. So if you want to be loved, then you need to be loving. The more you love, the more love you will receive. And I say love in a very broad and general term. So like with my clients, I give love to them through my care in assistance that I give them in their health and their workouts and their lives. Now, it's not the same kind of love I give my children. It's not the same kind of love I give my dogs. It's not the same kind of love I would give a woman. But it is a version of love that I give to them. And in return, they give me money. That's the love I get from them, in addition to their friendship and their cooperation and their help and all kinds of things. But yeah, love is just a form of energy, just like money, just like anything else. The thing that most people don't realize is that you can only give it away. Like, you can't take it with you, so you have to give it away. The wonderful thing is it's an endless resource, so it's not like you're limited to the amount that you can give on any given day or any given week or to any given person. You've got an infinite amount of love that you can give to anyone at any time, all the time. So if you're feeling bad about yourself, find some way you can give love of yourself. You can give it to someone else. Homeless people, people who need help at the food pantry. There's lots of ways that you can find ways to give of yourself. Churches, charities, there's tons of things you can do. Just don't allow yourself to fall into that self-loathing where you're constantly ruminating on the negativity in your life, because that will just take you down into a dark, dark place. And once you get down there, yeah, nobody wants to be around you. I mean, who would? Who would? You got to pull yourself out, All right. So just really quickly, let me just review what we've talked about. Number one, masculinity and our masculine nature, although it may not be conducive to an emotional yoga retreat, it does afford us opportunities to communicate with other men about things that are important, Now, we're not going to do it in some big cry fest, but we will do it playing catch, We'll do it bowling. We'll do it watching football. We'll do it, doing guy stuff. Nobody wants to, be sharing tampon stories with each other, I mean, I don't know why anyone would suggest that we needed to do that. Like, that's something that a man would do, but I read it and it was like, holy shit. So that's number one. Number two, use your alone time for solitude, an intentional act of solitude to improve yourself, to become the best version of yourself, to be the man that you want to be. Enjoy your life moment by moment. Get into places like this in nature where you can just sit and listen. Listen to the animals, listen to the wind, listen to the water. I mean, there's just so much going on all the time. Appreciate the chaos of nature and the beauty in that chaos, because there is this perfection that underlies it all. And once you see that perfection in nature, you realize that it's the curated version of the world that is fucked up. It's not the chaos that occurs naturally. Our authentic, natural, masculine nature is perfect and beautiful as it is. It doesn't need any curation. It doesn't need change or development or to be harnessed by women or by effeminate men who think they are smarter than the rest of us. You can be an authentic man and live an authentic life and not be lonely. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. I can go on this for a long time. It's such a beautiful day, but I think I'm already 30 or 40 minutes in. So I'll see you in the next one. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe. And remember, stay healthy. And if you can, stay single.